Why did Derek from More Plates More Dates / Gorilla Mine abandon this turkesterone patent? On July 14, 2022, Gorilla Mine LLC filed a patent with the U.S. Patent Office detailing their manufacturing process, specifically complexing for better absorption when it comes to turkesterone. It was eventually published January 26, 2023, and currently noted as abandoned. Why? Let's take a deeper look and see if we can't decipher why this application was abandoned. In April of 2022, Mr. You Are So Dumb, the username for the owner of Nootropics Depot, an online supplement manufacturer and contract testing lab, posted the results of their lab testing of several turkesterone and ecdysterone products that were on the market at that time, including Gorilla Mine's complex turkesterone. It turned out that according to the testing performed, the turkesterone complex only contained less than half of 1 milligram of turkesterone per capsule, versus the 25 milligram claimed on the bottle. After this whole debacle, it was widely known that there was no real turkesterone on the market. Trust me, there's not. Trace amounts, sure, but not high milligrams. But people were getting results. How come? Well, there tended to be at least some significant amount of ecdysterone, a very similar substance with very similar effects. In the case of Gorilla Mine, according to the lab testing mentioned, there was 5.34 milligrams of ecdysterone per capsule, bringing the total active ingredient to just under 6 milligrams. Derek's company wasn't the only one hit by Turkgate. HTLT, Turk Builder, was also analyzed and found to contain no Turk, but a replacement dose amount of ecdysterone about 50 milligrams per capsule. Greg subsequently changed the name of his supplement to ecdy Builder. Good on you for that, honestly. I truly believe that both Greg Doucette and Derek were in the dark on the paltry amounts of their main ingredient listed in their product. Having now ordered multiple kilos of raw ecdysterone concentrate, I can tell you that only once was I sent the purity promised, my very first sample kilo. That's why I test every kilo myself at this point, using my own shorthand method. I should note here that Derek subsequently had his Turk product tested, and it tested higher at around 35 milligrams ecdysterone per capsule, if memory serves correctly. Even cyanotis root is around 7 to 12% sterones naturally, so I'd wager there was a switch of plant sources, i.e. both tests were probably correct. In my opinion, you had lower testing Turkesterone and higher testing cyanotis. Two different sources of ecdysterone, if I understand correctly. Let's take a look at this patent. Right off the bat, obviously there's going to be an issue moving forward with the fact that there's no significant turkesterone in the actual product. But putting that aside and substituting ecdysterone for turkesterone, let's go over their process and see if it makes logical and scientific sense. The actual patentable process starts at annotation 61. Hopefully I'm not completely misunderstanding anything. I'm no professional chemist or researcher, only a curious fellow. The first several paragraphs detail what the product is supposed to be and how it's supposed to work. Essentially, 250 milligrams of Turk with 250 milligrams of hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin. From hereafter, I'm just going to say cyclodextrin. And sealed in a liposomal casing. But here we've already got our first problem. In this study here, if someone has a link to the complete, let me know in the comments. They are basically attempting the same thing as Gorilla Mine, to increase the water solubility and therefore bioavailability of ecdysterone. They found that ecdysterone and HPBCD, cyclodextrin, complex together best at a ratio of 1:1 molar mass or higher, not 1:1 milligram per milligram weight. In fact, in their study, they used 212 milligrams of cyclodextrin to 100 milligrams of ecdysterone. Slightly over a 2:1 ratio in milligram to milligram weight, but exactly 1:1 in molar mass. Given the relatively low amount of actual sterones in the mix, this may not be an issue. That is, if how they process it is actually effective. We see they go on to talk about the kneading technique, which they admit is not ideal for large-scale production, which is the whole thrust of this patent, by the way. Then they go over the co-precipitation method, which in their words, quote, poor yields are obtained from this method, quote. Okay, Then they talk about a variant of that technique, which they say is also not suitable. Then, heating in a sealed container method, but with no analysis of the effect. Then finally, they talk about freeze drying and spray drying and how they work great for essential oils like cinnamon oil. Those are the techniques discussed. Apparently, the technique that was settled upon in the conclusion of the patent was co-precipitation. And under the co-precipitation technique, it more closely resembles the techniques that I'm familiar with in particular. There is a solvent used in this technique, and therefore it should create an actual enclosed complex within the hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin. My confusion comes from why they say that this gives poor yields twice, even at the end when they're in their conclusion phase. But it does say that this is the technique that they use, and by all accounts, this should actually encapsulate the sterones that are in the mix, giving you 10%, which would be 25 milligrams, of actual sterones encapsulated in hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin per capsule. And if this is a fully formed complex, then we should be getting about 3 times-ish, 2.9 times the bioavailability from that 25 milligrams. What's my overall take on the patent? Well, I think it shows a well thought out product that is unfortunately constrained by the size of the capsule and the available quality of ecdysterone concentrate on the market. To be on the safe side and ensure large quantities are available, a low 10% total sterone mix is used. Now the dose of active ingredient is somewhat restricted by volume, i.e., only a small amount of the bulk of the capsule is the main meat and potatoes. Also, the manufacturing process is quite complex and undoubtedly expensive, but the only other way to do it would be to offer a liquid product as I do. But this isn't really practical on the scale of a Harder Than Last Time or Gorilla Mind. So, much of the process is built around being able to facilitate a tidy capsule, at least from my perspective. This is a lot of cost that has to get passed on to the consumer, and what gets lost in the process, in my opinion, is the focus on main ingredient. I'd rather have a whole lot of main ingredient. I'm stingy like that, but again, my formula's daily dose, even measured in raw ecdysterones, is roughly 10 times that of Gorilla Mind's if you took 3 capsules a day. And mine uses both hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin complexing and black pepper extract complexing, yielding theoretically 2 times the absorption per milligram of Gorilla Mind's. See what I mean about focus on the main ingredient? I'm a fan of boosting that dose and absorption as high as we can in hopes to replicate the converted dosages seen in the various studies where ecdysterone was very effective. I think Derek really does believe in his product. I could be wrong, I guess, but I've always seen him as pretty open and sincere. I have a lot of respect for him. I believe Derek was naive as to what he was being given for raw material 1 year ago, circa Turkgate. I say this because deception is the rule from most raw material suppliers, not the exception. I do disagree with the choice to put such a small amount of concentrate in the product, but since whole herb ecdy powder is already somewhere near 10%ish, you can always kind of safely say 10%. Not that that's what they're doing, but in the case of an emergency, at least that's covered. Greg Doucette even mentions that his tends to fluctuate between 10 and 23% concentrate. A quick note about Harder Than Last Time's ecdy builder. I have to say again that I think it's admirable that Greg pretty much immediately addressed the issue, had his product tested, and renamed it. As I said, I'm hearing reports from users that they are getting results. While it's low dosed in my personal opinion, it contains cofactors that can help absorption and uptake. First of all, black pepper extract / piperine, which I also use. This has been demonstrated to double the amount of bioavailability in such a product. Also of note is sodium caprate, something I haven't experimented with, but which has been added in the last year to further increase absorption. While Greg and his team have owned their part in the situation, renamed their product, and added ingredients to help absorption, Gorilla Mind has yet to change their name from Turk Complex. Look at this ad I got on my newsfeed this morning. There it is, in parenthesis, Turkesterone. Okay, technically. but look on the label. Contains 10% ecdy steroids, i.e. alpha-ecdysterone, beta-ecdysterone, turkesterone, etc. But is it as effective as we'd like to believe? Let's break it down. Harder than last time, $40 for 60 caps. 50 milligrams of sterones per cap, complex for 2 times absorption. That equals 6 effective grams of ecdysterone per bottle, or 150 milligrams per dollar. Gorilla Mind, $60 for 60 caps. 25 milligrams sterones per cap, complexed for 3 times absorption, equals 4.5 effective grams per bottle, or 75 milligrams per dollar. Gym Viking USA, small sample bottle, $20, 16 servings, 400 milligrams per serving, complexed with both HPBCD and black pepper extract for 6 times absorption, equals 38.4 grams per bottle, or 1,920 milligrams per dollar. Yeah, mine is expensive. Though Greg is taking the safe bet on the concentrate percentage, as Derek is, at least his product name is direct and there's an effort to improve the formula, i.e. continued innovation. And it's 50% cheaper. But don't let me sell you too hard on harder than last time. I will not say this or that product works or this or that doesn't, because sometimes results are subjective. But when I make a product, I want it to wallop you a bit, smack you and say, I'm here, I'm working. If it doesn't, why mess with it? That's my opinion. As long-time followers know, I have my own ecdy, and at this time, a strong T2 formula. And now, I have them up right under the video. Special thanks to a very thoughtful collaborator that hit me up on Insta. Feel free to do the same at Dramatic Physique, or better yet, hit me up in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, send kisses, or maybe don't.
Hey,